Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Call Live! In beautiful Burlington, North Carolina. Hosted today by special guest host, Stephen Davies!
In here. Electric in here. All right, let's go. So, hello, Alliance Nation. So I have the privilege of hosting today because Andy is in Florida at the Leadership Academy that we're doing. And let me tell you, those Leadership Academies, it's amazing. We just had the one here in Burlington. I had the privilege to do a lot of teaching at it. And I saw people getting equipped. I saw people having the tools, getting the dream. We haven't done an event like these Leadership Academies before, ever in the history of the Alliance. But what I'm seeing is a new vehicle, a new means to get people equipped faster. I'm not kidding. These Leadership Academies, they'll take 12 months off a new person's learning curve when they decide they want to build this thing. That's right. Maybe longer. Yeah. Maybe longer. Think about the collective experience that Andy has, and then all the leaders. Think about that collective experience that teaches at these things, that's writing the content for them. Right. It's amazing. So I'm so fired up. The one in Florida is going on right now. I'm getting texts from my guys in Florida telling me how much they're learning, and specific too. It's not just the typical, oh, we fired up. I'm so fired up, Stephen. I'm fired up right now. Right? It's not just that. It's like, I am fired up, and here is something specific I'm learning. Here's 8 specific things I'm learning. So these Leadership Academies are incredible. Terry taught with me in the one in Burlington. I want to get a few words from you, Terry. What did you see at this one? Because we got some spots in the ones coming up. What did you see go on at the Leadership Academy here?
Man, I was fired up. And I was one of the presenters, but I'm basically a knockoff of Leadership Academy graduate. I was sitting in on majority of the sessions, like, just learning. I was just like, oh my gosh, the amount of content that was covered. I mean, it's everything from A to Z. And I saw people leave with a new sense of confidence.
Yes.
First of all, the confidence that they could do it. And also they saw the intentionality behind how Andy has built this system. It's like no stone was left unturned. Yep. So I saw people leave here knowing without a shadow of a doubt that they could build this thing, and not just build it, but build it big.
Right.
So I am so fired up, man. And it's like, one of my things is this right here. How many people on my team can I get into one? Yep. And getting into these are going to get super competitive. So if I was a new person and wanted to go, I wouldn't just apply to one location. I've seen people in Florida, they were traveling from Florida to from like California, Ohio. So I would apply to every location to see which one I could get in.
Yes.
That's what I would do. And then I feel a little jealous too. I saw a video yesterday. Burke Hedges showed up at the Leadership Academy in Florida. I mean, like, this dude, like, Andy brings bulldozers. Like, when you pull up to a construction site and they building something big, you can see bulldozers, excavators. You know they ain't building a chicken coop. He bought in a bulldozer named Hedges. Yes, Burke Hedges. Oh my gosh, I was just like, I felt a little slighted. But
you still have me.
It's only gonna get better. Yeah, we had you. The only, not P did it, but S did. So man, I'm so excited, man. But the intentionality and the content was amazing. So if you come out of that event, the environment was right. We're just waiting to see how they actually respond to it to measure the result. So we're super fired up, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it, man. At the one here in Burlington, I was standing in the back just watching it go in. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I need to have multiple people in every single one. I need to have double-digit people in every single one. because it was the most equipping event we've ever done. And of course, Bob Grandin put a lot of work in behind the scenes, as did Jeff Bright. But really, Andy, thank you for giving us another vehicle which to get people equipped, to get them equipped and hit the street running, not just motivated, but informed and equipped. So awesome. Some things I want to promote coming up. We have 3 more. And I was texting with Robbie Kraft early this morning. The name is changing to the Alliance Certification Training. And I love that name change because that's really what I felt. That's what I saw going on. People were getting certified. People were now ready. So, and I'm with what Terry said, 100%. Apply to the one you want to go, but you know how you apply to some safety schools too? Right. Yeah. So if I was exactly, I'd apply to some safety schools. So here's the ones upcoming. March 20th through the 23rd, Lewisville, Texas. April 24th through 27th, Houston, Texas. May 4th through 7th, Jacksonville, Florida. So I would apply. I believe the Lewisville one is probably already full, but Houston, Jacksonville, I would get in whatever it took to get in. Whatever it took to get in. And think about it, like you go sell a couple policies, that'll buy you a plane ticket to go. Does that make sense? All right, upcoming Andy Albright travel, and I wanted to promote this because thinking through the lens of the Alliance Certification Training Program and thinking through what I was going to talk about today, I went, you know what, I want to make sure people understand in the beginning just some of the crazy stuff I did. So I want to promote Andy's calendar because in the beginning, here's what I did. I stayed where Andy was because I wanted to learn how to do this. Does that make sense? So when Andy would give his schedule, I would show up at all those hot spots that he was doing all over the country because I wanted to learn how to do what it is he was doing. Because skills, once you got a skill, now you can do it. Now you can do it all you want, right? You can do as many times as you want. And that's in the beginning. That's what I did. So when Andy's dates would come out, I would immediately buy plane tickets and book hotel rooms, and then recruit there. So where did I recruit? I recruited where Andy was going, 100%. So here's some dates coming up: April 22nd, San Antonio, Texas. April 23rd, Duluth, Georgia. April 24th, Lakeland, Florida. April 25th, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And if I could give you a tip, right, get noticed. Because when you get noticed by somebody like Andy Albright, you put yourself in a special position. Right. But believe me, when I called the ad that Andy placed in the Asheville Citizen-Times, he did not say, staff, gather around. The one we have spoken of has finally called. That's not what happened. I didn't know Andy from Adam. Specifically Adam Katz at that time. But I didn't know Andy from Adam, but I wanted to get noticed. Does that make sense? Because when you see somebody special that's doing special things, if you can get noticed by that person, that puts you in a unique position. So that's what I did. So here's what I would do. I would get to 2 or 3 of those. Maybe even all 4.
What was the second date again?
The second date was Duluth, Georgia, April 23rd. Absolutely. Yeah, if you could get to all 4, that'll get you noticed. Does that make sense? People are always waiting for somebody to notice them, right? Go get noticed. Because back in the beginning, this is the stuff I would do. I would buy plane tickets and fly to all those places just to be there. So I could watch Andy do it and get noticed by Andy. So what happened? Well, Andy ended up taking me under his wing. And what has happened since then? Oh my gosh. Holy cow. That's one of the things I love about coming to Burlington. Because every time I come down here, I drive past the site of the demolished Daystop Motel off of the Gibsonville exit and just go, holy crap. Holy crap. What my life has turned into. And that's because I met Andy Albright. And it's because I got noticed by Andy Albright. Not because of my talent. Not because of anything other than making sure I got noticed. And of course, Andy's love for people, you make yourself get noticed, you're going to put yourself in such a unique position. So I wanted to hit on that first because I was like, that's what I did back in the day. And I'm trying to, Andy was talking to me, we got to tell them more what we did back in the day. Back in the day, I would be at all 4 of those. All 4 of those. What would I do? How would I get there? I'd produce enough to get there. Does that make sense? Produce enough. Write enough business to get there. You can do that? Yeah, 100%. Necessity will make you find the time and the ability to do it. And then, of course, the big date coming up, family reunion, July 18th through the 21st. And here's one thing I want to plead with you a little bit on. Get a meal ticket. They're going to sell out again. Get a meal ticket. It puts you in such a special position. It puts you in a position to be around the top leaders. One of the things I love about the culture of the Alliance is the leadership is so down to earth. Right. So down to earth. Where I came from before, oh my goodness, my district manager, you couldn't even look him in the eyes. Yeah, I mean, just insane, arrogant, just. And so the leadership here, here's what happens. Sometimes I forget, Terry. I forget that the rest of the world doesn't operate like we operate. Right. That's right. Until every once in a while I end up like at an insurance industry thing and I'm like, ooh. I gotta take a shower being around here. Ooh. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So please get a meal ticket. Please get a meal ticket. Come eat with us. Come get in that environment. Come get in that environment. Plus, here's the thing too, you're traveling all the way here. You're already invested in all that. Why you want to be trying to add logistics to your day? Does that make sense? You're going to miss out on precious times. Even if the food was crap, I would still do it, just so I don't miss out on the time. But the food is amazing. Yeah. An insider tip from a pro. Bring hot sauce in your backpack. Yeah. At NatCon, I was sitting down eating my meal, and I take my hot sauce out of my backpack, and the people at the table go, "You have hot sauce in your backpack?" I'm like, "Yeah." Hello. I thought everybody knew that. So today's PSA: bring hot sauce. The more you know. All right. Here's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about specific qualities that will help you have staying power. And what really spurred this, I was on a call Sunday night with Andy and Andy Riddle, Paul Roberts, the Levin Tovai, and Diane Lampy. Oh my God, was it a powerful call. Powerful call. Me and Holly are listening in and we're getting chills just thinking about the power. But I'm thinking about all those people, and I love every single one of them. And I'm thinking about them going, you know what, they got staying power. That's why people think that they're more fortunate than they are. They look at a Diane Lampy and go, she's so fortunate. They look at the Leventoviches and they go, oh, what a fortunate couple. They look at Paul Roberts and go, oh, he's so fortunate. He's so fortunate. They look at Andy Riddle and go, man, that guy's fortunate. I bet he don't deal with anything. If you knew, and I know because I'm close friends with them, if you knew the things that they've pushed through, the things they've gone through, I mean, I'm getting emotional just thinking about what they've gone through, what Andy's gone through. And when you think about what they've gone through, it's that staying power. That's why you just see it looks steady, and that's why to outsiders it looks like they're fortunate. They're regular people, right? I talked about this, I think at the Leadership Academy, how low performers, they think they have a monopoly on failure and suffering, and right? They think they got a monopoly on it, a monopoly on tragedy. You know, like they're going to be before a Senate subcommittee, you know, we want to know why it is you've created this monopoly on suffering. You know, like they're going to deal with those kind of questions. No, they don't get a monopoly on suffering. Every single person I've talked, every single person I've mentioned has gone through gut-wrenching things. But that staying power, that's what makes it look magical. They're regular people, but they got staying power. So what I want to talk about today was how to have staying power. Some specific qualities. And here's the thing, if we put ourselves in the mode of developing qualities more than we stay in the mode of developing skills, we'll have staying power. If we only learn skills, we won't be emotionally equipped to deal with the inevitable failure, struggle, and stuff's to come, right? I don't want to be negative, right? You love people say, I don't want to be negative, but I kind of feel like you're about to be, right? I don't want to be a jerk, but I think you're about to. I don't want to be negative, but you're going to face challenges. Why? Because all the good stuff in life is uphill. If you want a great marriage, get ready for a fight. You know what I'm saying? If you want a great relationship with your kids, get ready for a fight. If you want to have a big business at the Alliance, get ready for a fight. So that's the stuff I want to talk about today. Because business, And you look at the people growing, like look at Andy Riddle's growth over the last little bit. It's inspiring. And Andy, I thank you for growing like that, because we all need those examples. It looks like Andy grows like this. Andy Riddle grew like that. That's not how Andy Riddle grew. It's like this. Now if you zoom out, it smooths out. That was an accident. Kind of want to take a time out and write that down. I don't want to lose that one. That just happened. Wow. It's 100% like this. It looks like this from the outside because Andy Riddle stayed steady through the things he's gone through. Diane Lampy. It looks like this because she stayed steady. Andy Albright. Steady. So that's what I want to talk about today, is what are those qualities? And what I'm going to do is we're going to highlight the quality. I just love this. It's like a real eraser. That's what kind of person I am. I'm amused by that. Like it's like electronic, but it's like eraser. Like it's so cool. So I'm going to go over each quality, and then what we're going to do is we're going to connect the dots, because there's three types of people with us today. There's new people, newish people, right? There's people that are already winning, and there's people that have just dealt with a loss, right? And you will have been all three in your time at the Alliance, right? Because you're new, you'll win, you'll go through some struggles, you'll win, you'll go through some struggles. So what I'm going to do is try and connect the dots between these qualities and all those specific times in your life with us, so that we can see how it all connects. All right? The first quality I want to talk about is humility. When I think of those leaders, I think of humility. Humility, the reason I'm going with it first, because you may not know this about me, but I obsess over the TWC. Like when I'm doing it, I am an emotional wreck for about 6 weeks. Because I just want to do it right. Does that make sense? Like I want to do it right. Andy's trusting me. I want to do it right. I don't want to phone this in. So I obsess over the order I do things. In fact, those of you that see me do it live, you see I'm not all smiley, giggly Stephen right before it starts. I'm just like... But this one was easy to go first. Here's why. It is the foundation of every other value, right? Any value you want to have or keep, the foundation has to be humility. Without humility, the other values won't stick. They won't stay. Humility will help you come back to your values when you inevitably stray from them. You said, I'm going to stray from my values? Yeah, we all do from time to time. We're imperfect, right? So from time to time, we're going to stray from our values. Humility makes it not only the foundation, but it makes it okay to come back. It makes it okay to ask for help to get us to come back to our values. Does that make sense? That's why we're starting with humility. So what is humility? Let me give you 6 parts of the definition here. And it's 6 things you give up as part of humility. The first thing is giving up knowing it all. I know that's hard. It's harder for some than others. Have you ever seen some of these people that they'll readily admit, well, no, I'm not God, but then they spend the rest of their time acting as if they were. Of course I don't know it all. Now let me tell you exactly how I, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, but we've got to give up that feeling of knowing it all. And let me tell you, it's a relief to not know it all. I mean, you ever seen these people that know it all? That is stressful. Because you got to spend all your time making sure everybody knows you know it all. Because some of these people are stupid. And they don't know that you know it all. So I got to spend all my time demonstrating how much I know it all. It looks stressful, doesn't it? The second thing we give up, thinking we can do it all. I am only good at a few things. I have a lot of handlers that make it look like I'm good at a lot of stuff, but I am only good at a few things. Humility means letting go of doing it all, needing to do it all. Humility also means giving up the need to be perfect. Have you ever seen some of these people? They just won't admit their faults. Why? Well, because if I admit my fault, people know I'm not perfect. What you going to do, right? Humility is giving up. You're not perfect. Let me tell you, it's a relief too. Whew. Imagine trying to walk around looking perfect. Whew. No, thank you. It means giving up thinking we're better than others. I love the story about Martin Luther King. You know, everybody knows the I Have a Dream speech, right? Did you know there were a bunch of other people that spoke that day? Do you remember any of their talks? The cool thing is when you read the backstory, while the rest were fighting over who got what stage time when, Martin Luther King was like, just put me in where I fit in. And that's how he gave such a, because it was organic. Does that make sense? Humility means giving up the need to be seen as perfect. I already said that one. Humility means giving up defensiveness. Giving up defensiveness. Why? Defensiveness gets in the way of getting better. A defensive person never gets better. Have you ever tried to coach a defensive person? They're not. Trying to coach a defensive person, it becomes a giant game of hide and seek. Does that make sense? You can't coach a defensive person. Humility is all those things. Now here's the cool thing. When you look at humility, it's going to do some things for us. When you look at that definition, here's what it'll do for you. One of the first things humility will give you is gratitude. Think about all those things you give up. If you give up all those things, you'll be a grateful person. Grateful people are happy people. Anybody that seen me show the plan, you know how to make that joke about our values, about gratitude. But have you ever hung around ungrateful people? Yeah. They'll just suck the life out of you, right? They're like a psychic vampire. You know, just They're not out for blood. They're out for enthusiasm. They just want to suck it right out of you, right? Here's what else it'll give you. Humility will give you trust. Because if I don't know it all, I can trust. Because if I'm not defensive, I can trust. Trust is going to flow from that. Here's what trust will do in the business for you. That will allow you to duplicate. Are you saying people that won't duplicate aren't humble? 100%, that's what I'm saying. Because their way's better. Their way's better than what has made a lot of my friends millionaires. I mean, I hear you. I'd like to see some fruitage. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fruitage guy. I know how that works. It'll help people duplicate, because if people don't have humility, they won't duplicate, and that means they go. Have you ever done this where people they take you through all these scenarios, like, but what if and all? It's just like enough. All these possible things, like stop, enough. In fact, when somebody tries to take me down that road, like, what if this happens, or I think, or what if? I like to ask equally ridiculous questions. Oh yeah, because Mark Twain said, "Never argue with a fool, because they'll pull you down to their level and beat you with experience." So I just got a little. So here's a couple I like to use, and you can use them if you like. I like to look them right in the eyes and go, "But do unicorns prefer fax or email?" I want to communicate in a way that they like to be communicated with. So do unicorns like fax or email? I don't know. Do you know? We may never know. Are leprechauns fearful of trampoline parks? We don't know. We just don't know. And I said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Both of my questions are as equally ridiculous as yours. We got a plan. We got a system. Stop trying to question it." Does that make sense? But it's got to come. That's why it's got to start with humility. Here's what else branches off from humility: speed, closely related to trust. You have speed with humility because you're not worried about mess ups, right? If you've already come to peace with the fact that you're a mess, you're not worried about messing up. And a message to anybody out there that might think, they might be out there somewhere on the internet thinking that we don't know that they're imperfect. We know. The proof is abundant. The answer is in. We know. It's okay. So don't worry about messing stuff up moving forward. We already know. All right? Let's go. Next thing, humility brings hard work. Why? Because if you're humble, you're not going to try and rely on your talent or your charm. One of the most liberating thoughts you can have is, I'm not special. That sounds negative, but it's not negative. One of the most liberating thoughts you can have is, I'm not special. I'm going to have to work hard like everybody else. I'm going to mess stuff up. People are going to help me fix it. I'm going to be open to that. And I'm going to get better. I'm not special is one of the most liberating thoughts you can have. Humility, when we think about humility, you look at this picture and you say, what's the biggest obstacle to growth? What's the biggest obstacle to growth? A lot of people will think ignorance. They think ignorance is the biggest obstacle to growth. It is not. The biggest obstacle to growth is the illusion of knowledge. It's not ignorance. It's the illusion of knowledge. I've heard Andy Albright teach it many ways. One of the ways I love that he teaches is it's not what you don't know, it's what you know that isn't so. That's what really hurts you. And humility is what's going to help us let go of that certainty addiction. If you look at low performers, they have certainty addiction. You can't have certainty addiction and learn. The stuff that you know may not be so. It takes humility to get there. Here's another thing humility gives you. It gives you flexibility. Humility gives you flexibility. Rigid people can't grow. Rigid people aren't happy. Why aren't rigid people happy? Because they're so rigid. And the rest of the world is not meeting their definition of what is right.
Right.
Why doesn't everybody get it? Right? Rigid, not happy. Humble, flexible, happy.
Yeah. That's right.
Make sense? Here's another thing, humility. It'll help you stay in the basics. This business is so basic. So basic. You've heard Andy Albright say it a million times, or if you're brand new, you haven't, but you will. He'll say, you can't get bored with the mundane. When you look at somebody like Andy, he's a master of the mundane. If you zoom out and look over the course of his days, he does very mundane things. And if you look at the leadership here, we do very mundane things. Mundane can look magical when it's done with enthusiasm, though. Humility will allow for that. Because you're not constantly have to recreate. Does that make sense? Yeah. You can stay in the basics. Because the basics is how you win. Not just in business, but in life, the basics are how you win. People say marriage is complicated. It's not. It's simple. You just do more things that she likes than she doesn't like. You say, I love you and I'm sorry a lot. So I'm riding in the car with Gustavo Taran, and we're going from the airport to the Miami hotspot, and he's talking to Mercedes, and all I hear is, "Sí, mi amor. Sí, mi amor. Sí, sí, mi amor." That's a smart man right there. Marriage is simple. Buy flowers. Leave love notes. It's simple. People say, no, it's not. It's because you complicated it. Sorry. It's simple. How do you uncomplicate it? Just go simple again. Life is simple too. Life is simple. Smile. Right? Smile and be nice to people. Everybody's going to like you. Well, nobody likes me. I don't sure have any friends. I got a pretty good idea why I have no friends. As I'm trying to get the heck out of here too. All right, so let's get to how this quality helps in those three situations. So if you're getting started, how does humility help? Right here. Help you duplicate. If you'll just duplicate. That's all I did in the beginning. I followed Andy around like a little puppy dog when he traveled, and then I just tried to do my best version of that till I got better. That's it. That's it. And I love it getting complimented because I'm just like everybody else. When I show the plan, people are like, oh, I love it when you do our hotspot. I'm going, that's just because I followed Andy around a bunch when I was little. When I was little. Well, I guess I was a kid. I was 21, yeah. But that's all. So if you've got, as a new person, if you can master humility, It's not hard to start. That's one of the things I love about the Alliance. When I'm trying to coach a new person and they want to go their own way, I'm just like, what, why? Why? Look at everybody that was on stage at family reunion with Andy Albright when he gave out those contracts. I'm getting chills just talking about it. Look at that. What's a fact? If you stick around Andy Albright, things are going to work out. Not complicated. Does that make sense? What does it take? It takes humility. It takes humility because you can't want to be the star of your own show. The good news is if you want to be the star of your own show, you will have your own show. It will just be lightly attended. All right. How does it help you if you're already winning? If you're in a winning season right now, here's how humility helps you. It'll help you realize you ain't arrived. I've got so much more. I can help so much more. I've got levels of leadership and character I got to get to. Does that make sense? If I think I've arrived, I'm not going to reach down and try and get that help to get there. It'll also keep you realistic about your potential. The further I go, the more I learn, the more I realize how far I am from my potential. You know, low performers, they've reached their potential. They think they're bad to the bone. The more I learn, the more I read, the more I'm around leaders, I go, oh, man. All right, let's get going. All right, might as well get moving. So humility will keep you growing. Now, what if you have just gone through a big loss? And I can really relate to this. About 3 years ago, I went through one of the toughest challenges I've ever gone through. We were qualified vice president on the old levels. We fell all the way back to qualified key leader. We have since requalified as vice president on the old levels. And we're knocking on the door of board member. I'm not saying that to say, look at me. I'm just saying to say that's what's possible with this team and with this leadership. With Andy Albright in your corner, that's what's possible. With my buddy Paul Roberts in my corner, with my buddy Diane Lampy in my corner, with the Levin Toviches in my corner, with Riddle inspiring us with his growth, that's what's possible. Does that make sense? That's the only reason I'm telling you that. So here's where humility comes into play. Humility will help you be realistic about where you are, and it's only from that point that you can figure out what you need to do to move forward. Make sense? So sometimes I see people held up on that, and you know, Andy will say we're going to measure something by the levels, and it's like, can we use the level that I almost hit 5 years ago? Yeah. And it's like, you're not being realistic about where you're at. And you can't build forward from a myth. You can only build forward from the truth. The truth is you went through a loss. Welcome to the human family. We love you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So what if you went through a challenge and you slid back a few levels? We love you. We're going to help you. We're all going to do hotspots that you can recruit to. Right. We're going to hug on and love on your people. We're going to help you. But it's got to start from the truth. Does that make sense? And that's where humility is key when you deal with a loss, so that you can build forward from a right foundation. Okay, here's where I'm at, because that's going to change what you need to do. Guys, when I went through that challenge, I had to go back out in the field. I mean, I love the field. I wish I had more time for it. But if without humility, it'd be hard to do that. Why? Why? For I am Vice President Stephen Davies. Vice President Stephen Davies does not go in the field. At the point I was a key leader, I need to go in the field. Does that make sense? Right. Humility will help you build. And I hope you never go through what I went through. And the truth is, with the Ark, the future is bright. Yes, it is. Because and I know we've had some things we're working out and ironing out. And that's one thing I'm fired up about this team. And that was on the beginning of my notes. Man, I got to get better at this. I'm so fired up about the team, the way we're rallying. I'm so fired up about that. So the things we're putting in place, you will be so much more well protected. Our culture is 10,000 times better now than it was 3 years ago. So you're in a much better place. I hope you never go through the challenges I do, but should you go through a challenge, just remember, humility is going to be key. So when's the time to develop it? Now. Because if you don't have, and here's a key thing, if you don't have humility before the trial, you'll get stuck in delusion. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you stuck in delusion. I see people do that, and they'll blow up their marriage, and then they stay in delusion. Does that make sense? Instead of going, you know what? Shouldn't have been hanging out with them people. I shouldn't have been, instead of taking stock, they're in delusion and going, she's crazy. Right? They're stuck in delusion. They're not going to grow. The sad part is they paid the price, but they're not going to get the lesson. So you got to have humility before the trial, before you go through that, or you'll get stuck in delusion. All right. Next question, or quality. They want to be measured. Have you ever seen anybody that didn't want to be measured? They hide from everything possible. And you'll see this when I pull for everybody that we hire. They'll set a goal, and I'm pulling for them. But when they don't do the behaviors to get to the goal, where do they go? MIA, right? And I don't know if they're hiding or if Schwarzenegger went and got them. Get into the chopper! You did not do what you should to hit your goals. Get into the chopper! And they just fly away. I don't know what happened, but something happened. Here's what it is. It's somebody that doesn't want to be measured. But again, this is closely tied to humility. It takes humility to want to be measured. Remember those things we talked about in what you got to give up in humility? Can you see how if we don't give those up, it would be tough to want to be measured? Yeah. Why? Because what if we're measured and it turns out that we're not perfect? And everybody found out. What if we get measured and it turns out we didn't know it all? So that's what starting humility connect to this. People want to be measured. Levin Tovich said this, I want to say 13 or 14 years ago. And Mike, I remember it clear as day when you said it. You said, show me how I'm measured and I'll show you how I perform. That's man speak right there. That's leadership. That's leadership talk right there. Show me how I'm measured and I'll show you how I perform. That's the only way that you can succeed is to be measured. Right? And we've all dodged being measured, right? You ever been on a weight loss mission? And you went with the chicken wings? And the next morning, you go into the bathroom, and you see that scale, and you're just like, trying to, don't want it to get on. I know I did wrong. If you want to make a better decision next time, get on it and go, yep. Chicken wings, ranch dressing, french fries, right there. Right there. Yeah. That's about how much that weighs. How much? Oh, 2 beers. How much? Yeah, that's how much. That's how much that weighs, right there. That's that one, right? But unless you measure yourself, you're not going to lose weight, right? Like one thing I saw about weight loss that I've been trying to stick to is people that lose weight weigh themselves every day, no matter what. Why? Because it's a constant reminder, right? So you have to want to be measured. Be a reality seeker. And that's where with the special leaders we have on our team, I think about, Taffenbach, think about somebody like Paul Roberts. He'll help measure you, and he loves you. Does that make sense? Right. Diane Lampert the same way. She wants you to win. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of being measured by the leaders in our company. Andy Albright, oh my gosh, he wants you to win. Don't be afraid of being measured. Be a reality seeker. And this will help you. These things are full circle, not just this business, right? Be a reality seeker in your marriage. How happy are you really? What changes do you need to make to get happy, right? Changes in your behavior. Say, all right, I know what she needs to change. Oof. Yeah. Yeah. Let me know how that works out for you. Yeah. Yeah. I was coaching a guy one time, and he didn't want his wife to know anything about his bank account or his calendar. I'm like, Bo, you know how that looks, don't you? I'm like, you got any clue how that looks? And he's like, oh, you think it looks like I'm trying to hide something? Oh, yeah. Needless to say, he ain't married anymore. But when you behave like that, it's like, why don't you just call a divorce attorney now? It's hard to get into the good ones, and that's where this is headed. But you got to want to be, and it's full circle. Where is your relationship really at with your children? Where are your finances really at? Be a reality seeker. Here's the thing, too. And this is why, and I'm going to connect to that dot about when you go through a loss, right? Unless you're a reality seeker, you never develop true courage. Don't get me wrong. Everybody thinks they got courage, right? Yeah. Just like everybody thinks they're a people person. I'm a people person. How come you got no people? A people person should have more people.
That's right.
A people person shouldn't be a soloist. Be a reality seeker, because here's the problem. You never develop true courage without operating through reality, without going, oh, that's what I said, everybody thinks they got courage, right? You don't even have to have a great attention span to do this business. That should be a great. Some speakers, inspire. Some of us give hope. Everybody says they got courage. Okay, show me. Stop hiding. Stop hiding from being measured. Since you're Captain Courageous, stop hiding. Because here's the thing: how you prepare for the massive is through the mundane. I mean, if you're in a habit of hiding, when the big stuff comes, you're gonna hide too. I love you, and you're gonna hide too. So practice now. Live that life of daily courage by looking reality in the eyes and going, okay, got to make some changes, right? Here's the other thing that it gives you. When you are a reality seeker, you have self-awareness. Self-awareness prevents dysfunction. People will blow up a relationship and they go, I just don't know how it happened. I was like, you want a list? It's not hard to see from the outside, right? That's somebody with no self-awareness. They lack self-awareness because they hide from reality. They don't seek reality. When you seek reality, you get self-awareness. And self-awareness makes us love you even more. Self-awareness. Here's another obstacle. When we're blind to reality, we project it onto other people. When we're blind to reality, we project that onto other people. It's kind of like the person that can't trust anybody. They're projecting that onto other people. Does that make sense? I got trust issues. Okay, I'm thinking that somebody's a little bit blind to some reality in their life. We project that onto other people when we're blind to it. There's lots of trustworthy, wonderful people out there. Why live in that circle of isolation? Make sense? Here's the other thing it does. It keeps us from sliding into the habit of being praise seekers. You know any praise seekers in your life? Here's the problem with being a praise seeker. You're pursuing the wrong thing. Pursue the principles and the qualities that will inevitably get you praise. Don't pursue praise. And you say, what happens when somebody is dealing with they're a constant praise seeker? Here's the problem. It's rooted in shame issues that they haven't dealt with yet. And it's those shame issues that drive that desire to look good. And that's why they seek praise. But here's the problem. Praise can't fill that hole in your soul when you behave like that. You got to deal with that stuff first. That's why you got to be a reality seeker. Because if you get caught in just constantly seeking praise, you're doing the wrong thing. That's not a foundation. And I got to tell you, can I tell you something honest? The praise you do get ain't real. Yeah, it's not even real. People are just saying it to get. Yeah, they got stuff to do and they don't want to hear it all day. So it's not even real. Does that make sense? That all comes back to being a reality seeker. It keeps you from sliding in. Because we all, does anybody not like a compliment?
I know that's right.
Right? We all like being complimented. And so we have a tendency to be pulled towards that. So if we stay a reality seeker, we'll be less likely to be a praise seeker. Make sense? Because there'll never be enough praise to overcome the bad feelings you've got about yourself. So it's not a sustainable plan. Does that make sense? Well, I had to sneak it in there. I didn't want to. Here's really what it's about. It's about being an open system, not a closed system. People that are enamored with the appearance of success, they're a closed system. Everything they do says, look over here, don't look at me. They're a closed system. It's about being an open system. And believe me, I'm glad I learned these principles. I'm glad because I look at it on the other side and I watch and I go, And when I'll see somebody be a closed system, it's always reminding me, like, am I being an open system? Am I open enough? Because we go back and forth. We're always in flux. You never get any of these things like a checklist, right? So here would be a question, am I an open system? Here would be a question to help answer that. Who is speaking into my life? Who is speaking into my life? And are they speaking into my life with accurate information? Because if you're a closed system, the people that could mentor you don't have accurate information to mentor from. Does that make sense? Yeah. They don't have so they can't, it's kind of like going to the doctor and giving them somebody else's x-ray. If you're a closed system, does that make sense? Yeah. It's like giving the doctor somebody else's blood work. Yeah. Here's the doctored blood work, so there's nothing wrong with me, right? But it's about being an open system. So who is that? Who are the best people to help us with reality? It's the people that don't let us off the hook. Yeah. If you're only reaching out to people that buy your bull crap, because we're all full of crap, just say, I am not. You the worst of us. Y'all stay away from him. Psycho. Serial killers are usually neat and put together on the outside, you know. But we're all capable of being full of crap. So don't seek input from people that buy your bull crap. That's one of the reasons I love Andy. I love Andy because he won't buy bull crap. That's right. He'll cut right through it. Now, sometimes when Andy cuts through the crap, does it hurt? Yeah. But that's what I need. Does that make sense? Here's what it is about being transparent. That's right. Without transparency, you can't grow. You won't be transparent if you don't want to be measured. It's only through transparency that you can grow. But here's the cool thing. I'm trying to connect all these dots here. Transparency creates intimacy. Without transparency, you can't have intimacy. So here's how that looks. Holly loves me because she knows me. That's right. Andy loves me because he knows me. Paul Roberts loves me because he knows me. And it's that transparency that creates that. But it's got to come from a desire to want to be measured. And I'm with you on, wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to deal with reality? I'm with you, right? We're all the same. It's like Andy said, you know, people think I don't like chocolate cake. Everybody likes it, you know what I'm saying? We all want an easy way out, but there is no easy way out to significance. If you want to be a meaningful, specific, you're going to have to go through this tough stuff. Make sense? All right. Let's get to how this works. So if you're getting started, this means you can be coached. You can't coach somebody that won't deal in reality. And I would tell you, don't try and coach somebody that's not willing to deal in reality. Because they're not ready. Why? Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to keep them around. If we can keep them around, we can let our culture work on them. And get them, maybe they'll hear something like this and go, maybe I am hiding. And then maybe we can help them. Because if somebody shows you that they don't want to be measured or that they're hiding from reality, don't try and don't go guns blazing. It's also a waste of your time. Because you can't mentor somebody that doesn't want to be measured. You just can't. So if you're just getting started, it means we can coach you. If we can coach you, we can get you winning. Yeah, you may be in a giant mess coming here like I was, and it's going to take a while to get you out of it. But we can get you out of it, but we got to be able to coach you. And we can only coach you if you want to be measured. Does that make sense? Andy can only coach me when I want to be measured. So what if you're already winning? This will help you close your potential gap. Think about what would true torment be? Here's what true torment would be. If on your deathbed you had to watch a highlight reel of what you could have been. Think about that. The person you could have been. That's torment right there. Yeah, it is. I read that in a book, and it's made me a little paranoid. Don't make me watch the highlight reel of what this TWC could have been. I won't see it. I won't see it. I won't see it. I won't see it.
Don't post it.
My hands are getting sweaty just thinking about it. Breathe, dog. And how does this help you after a loss? We touched on it already, but it will help you build back from reality. It'll help you put that level you previously had in your back pocket and build forward from reality. Makes sense? All right, next one. Integrity of character. When I think about those leaders, here's what I'm thinking of. They got integrity of character. Here's what that means. They're not perfect, but they have integrity of character. We all got circles. And those circles are our thoughts. The feelings we allow ourselves to feel. The words we use and the actions we take. Here's what integrity of character means. It means all these are lined up. That's what integrity of character means. That's when our thoughts, our feelings, the words we use, the actions we take is 100% lined up. And we've all seen somebody that lacks this, right? And it just breeds dysfunction. Does that make sense? And coming apart all starts here. If you allow yourself to think thoughts you shouldn't think for long, you will eventually develop feelings surrounding those thoughts, which will lead you to words and actions. So somebody blows up a relationship, it didn't start with actions. They weren't at Starbucks at 10:30 in the morning going, you know what? I've heard a lot of good stuff about this drugs. Right? You know what? It's kind of tiresome having a functional family. I think I'm going to blow that up. Yeah, because then, yeah, no, that'd be perfect. That way I'll be alienated from my children, and I'll end up alone, and yeah. It doesn't start like that. It starts with this bubble coming apart. Then that bubble moves, and that bubble moves, and that bubble moves. So when you think about leaders that have integrity of character, everything's tight. And here's what it allows for. It allows for them to connect authentically to people. You watch the way Paul Roberts connects with people. Paul's so sweet. He'll give you diabetes. He's so sweet. Yeah. Yeah. How'd you get diabetes? Louisville hotspot. You know, it's like everybody else. All right. Paul connects authentically because his circles are lined up. He's not perfect, but he works to keep his circles lined up. How can Andy get on stage and connect instantly with 2,000 people? Because he's working to keep his circles tight. Here's what else it allows you to do. It keeps you oriented towards truth. Here's what happens when these bubbles come apart. Here's what happens. Secrets. Skeletons in the closet. Also not perfect. Trying to keep the bubbles together. Does that make sense? That's why association and what you put in your mind and heart is so important. Keep the bubbles together. Here's what else it allows you to do. It allows you to engage and deal with negativity productively. In other words, fix problems. It allows you to fix problems, which allows you to work in a way that gets results. When your circles are sliding apart, you can't work in a way that gets maximum results. Why? Because you're occupying emotion and energy with the dysfunction. If your circles are only overlapping like this, that's how effective you are. It's taking energy and emotion away from that. So if you ever wondered why some people appear more effective than others, it's not that they're God's gift to building an organization. Their circles are just tighter. And so what's a good way to operate from this? Just look for integrity gaps. Can you see how this ties into the previous point? How are you going to learn about how are you and I going to learn about our integrity gaps? Only if we're reality seekers. only if we're seeking the actual truth. That's where our integrity gaps lie. Make sense? Here's the other thing. It allows you to be transcendent. It allows you to be bigger than the situation. Why? Because you're not invested emotionally in the dysfunction that the circles coming apart creates. So it allows you to be a powerful leader. So if you look at powerful leaders in our organization, that they're working to keep their circles. How can I sing it but not say it? That makes no sense. Now I got that to think about. Or maybe my whole life just becomes a musical. I'm so glad to have been with you all today. Yeah, and you just kind of float through life. Maybe I'm onto something here. Yeah. Yeah, whole life, one fantastic show tune. I like it. Yeah. In fact, if you had to watch the highlight reel of what your life could have been on your deathbed, it might be all magical show tunes. It might be. I don't know. Nobody knows. It's kind of like, who knows if leprechauns are fearful of trampoline parks? We just don't know. We just don't know. There's some things we just don't know. Here's the other thing. People with this integrity of character, they're not easily rattled. They're not easily rattled because they invest no emotion or energy in hiding. So when something bad happens, they're on a solid foundation. They don't get easily rattled. This person, oh my God, burn a bagel and they will lose their crap. You know what I'm saying? Like, unglued. These are the people you see screaming at cashiers at stores. These are your arguers right here. Which ties into my next point. When our circles are tight, we're not dominated by polarizing emotions. Because outside, there's polarizing emotions in all these when it's outside. Very limited polarizing emotions. So what does that lead? What does that give you? It gives us emotional stability. Emotional stability. It means we don't lose our crap all the time. And we all have relatives like this, right? If they're furious right now, just stick around. Because they're like the weather in the mountains. It's going to change anyway, right? It's emotionally erratic. Their circles are coming unglued. Does that make sense? Here's what else. It gives you the maturity, the emotional maturity, to not see all situations as all good or all bad. It also allows us to not see people as all good or all bad. Is anybody all bad? Is anybody all good? Do you see the problems that exist when we're out here? Out here, we got judgment, right? I got a relative that, you know how some people have gone fishing on their door? He should say gone judging. These people aren't going to judge themselves. Yeah. We don't have to worry about judging anybody because he's got it. He got it, right? And out here lives constant disappointment and disillusion. You see, I can love Andy because I know he's not perfect. And he can love me because he knows I'm not perfect. It takes emotional maturity to not look at people as all good or all bad. And we all know emotionally immature people. They got two files, right? Villains and heroes, and that's it. That's it. They're not trying to understand what's going on behind the behavior so they can help anybody. When you're judging somebody, you can't help them. And when we're in those modes, people can't grow. People can't grow when they're constantly scolded and judged. There's no space to grow. Does that make sense? And that's why if you look at parents, and this is full circle stuff, right? If you look at parents that struggle in the relationships with their children, they're constant scolders and judgers. That's what makes their children hide. That's what gets their children in dysfunction instead of seeking help. That's the dark path. So don't be a constant scolder. Don't be a constant judger. Not with your children, not with the people we're trying to help. People can't grow when they're being constantly scolded. We can't get free of that if we're emotionally immature. We can't get emotional maturity without having that integrity of character. It's the other thing that comes out of it. Impulse control. What we call self-discipline. That comes from this integrity of character. So when you look at top leaders and they make disciplined decisions and you go, wow, so they just get up on time every day no matter what? That's integrity of character. Does that make sense? So they just follow through no matter what? Yeah, it's integrity of character. That's what provides that. And it's self-discipline. That's what eventually helps us train ourselves out of our immature patterns. We all have immature patterns. The key is we want to have less of them. The less of the immature patterns we have, the further we can go in life. Because immature patterns are kind of like a tether. We can only go so far before an immature pattern will pull us back. And we can only go so far. The only way to break that's with self-discipline. Self-discipline is going to come through integrity of character. So, before doing anything, here's the question. Pause. Is this who I want to be? Is this who I want to be? Because we're about to become whatever we do. Does that make sense? We might have missed it here. We might have missed it here. But if we can press stop here and pull it back together, we can keep ourselves out of a jam. Pause. Is what I'm about to do who I want to be? Because it sure is going to happen. When we stop and do the right thing, we become a better person. When we don't, we do the wrong thing, we become a lesser person. Whatever we're about to do is who we're going to be. And we can't operate from that if we're not, going back again to number 2, truth seekers. And we can't be a truth seeker if we're not humble. So can you see how all the dots connect? All right, so let's get into how does this help us. If you're a new person, this integrity of character, working to keep those circles tight, what will that do for you? It will help you establish trust fast. You'll only be able to build your organization at the speed of which people can trust you. Same thing with me. If people can't trust me, they're not going to move fast. People aren't going to trust me if I let my circles drift too far apart. Got to keep them tighter. Keep them tighter, people can trust. Why? Because you just know. By the way, this is that feeling you get about people, and this is that feeling you get about people. When you meet somebody and you're like, we can't trust that guy. Something about him. You ever felt that? Something about them. That's what you're feeling. When you instantly trust somebody, that's what you're feeling. But one time I instantly trusted somebody and I was wrong. Well, you were wrong. I don't want to tell you. They were good at faking it. I don't want to tell you. But those feelings of trust, they're going to stem from the tightness of our circles, which is our integrity of character. So the tighter we work to keep it, the better. What influences that? Influences who we're around and what we're reading and seeing. All right, so as a new person, it helps you establish trust fast, means you can build fast. If you're somebody that's already winning, how does this help you? Or if you're currently in a winning season. This is called self-sabotage. This is called keeping on winning. So this integrity of character helps you. If you're in a winning season, it's going to make that winning season last. You'll still deal with challenges, but they won't be ones you created with self-sabotage. Situations we create with self-sabotage, they breed this very ugly, hurtful thing called regret. We get upset when somebody outside of us hurts us, but we don't deal with that nasty thing called regret unless it's self-sabotage. So if you're in a winning season, you still will go through challenges. This is not like a magic key that will keep you away from ever going through another challenge, but it will keep you from living life with a lot of regrets. And if you go back to the word picture I used about torment, really that's what you'd be feeling, right? If you saw the highlight reel of what you could have been, it would be regret. So at the end of the day, this prevents one of the worst feelings we can have, keeping those circles together. Now, how does this help you if you've gone through a tough loss? If you've gone through a tough loss, it's still going to be tough. That's why they call it a tough loss. Bad news. They would call it a moderate loss if it was a moderate loss. They would call it a minimal loss if it was a minimal loss. We're talking about a tough loss. It's still going to be tough. I hate it for you. And if you go through a tough loss, find me. I'll give you a hug. Find Paul Roberts too. He gives better hugs than me. You get diabetes though. That's yeah. 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 When you're out in the field and they say they got a touch of the sugar, what they mean is Paul Roberts put his arms around them. That touch of the sugar. No, we'll hug you and we'll love you, but here's what won't happen to you. You won't get rattled. You won't get rattled, and when we don't get rattled, we don't stop. When we get rattled, we get caught, we get paralyzed. It's still going to be tough, and you may get paralyzed for a moment, but you won't stay paralyzed. Does that make sense? And it's from having that integrity of character. All right, number 4, sorry. I went to the Tim Goad School of Counting Points while speaking. Every time Tim does it, I just feel better. I'm like, oh, thank God. Others focus. And it's a quality that you develop. Why? Because we're all naturally selfish people. If you don't believe me, let's take a group photo when we're done. Who you going to look for first? Me. Like my man Beaker on the Muppets. Me. And society makes this tough on us. I mean, think about this. We live in a time and place that people were taking so many pictures of just themselves that we had to invent a term for it. How self-centered is that? I always try to think about like powerful historical figures taking a selfie, right? Like Winston Churchill taking a selfie. You know, like. About to meet up with my boy at the real FDR. D-Day, gonna be dope. Hashtag Hitler sucks. Hashtag what is D-Day? Ooh. Good job, Winston. All right. Come on, you think like, yeah. Martin Luther King wouldn't be posting selfies. And if I made you uncomfortable, it's okay. Sometimes you say something like that and people be like, oh, I'm like, no, that's not the reaction. Here's the reaction. I've seen that before. And I'm picking on that, but we live in a very selfish world. So it's going to pull us towards selfishness, which we're already bent towards. So we got to fight on our hands. So it's something we have to work on others' focus. And here's the thing. It's because the end of self-interest is the start of a greater self. It's the end of self-interest that is the start of that greater self. So we can't become that greater self, that highlight reel self, stuck in self-interest. Does that make sense? We just can't. We'll never get there. We have to end self-interest to start the journey towards that greater self. This is what allows, when you look at the top leaders and you watch Andy Albright, what he'll do for a new person that has brought no value to the alliance. You ever just go, wow, right? That's what it is. Does that make sense? That's what it is. It's an others focus that allows for that. And you'll see that with leaders lower down on the levels. You'll see that. They're just like penny ante. I don't put any time into them. One of my people at a hotspot texted me and said, well, there's a person at a hotspot that belongs under another person, and they told them they don't got time to train them. That's what the hotspot's for. And they told them to ask at the hotspot for some supplies. And I'm just going, that's not good. And I can tell that story. Why? Because unless that person changes, we're never going to know who they are. Does that make sense? Because they're never going to grow. Because without that others focus, you can't grow. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's the same thing in marriage, right? An others focus in marriage is the only way to be happily married. Well, I guess specifically singular other focus, right? Let's be clear. Be crystal clear. Why? Because a good marriage is not a 50-50 marriage. Why? Because she's not always going to bring her full 50, and I ain't going to bring my full 50 sometimes. A happy marriage is a 75-25 marriage. It's just y'all are willing to take turns who plays the 75. That takes an others focus, right? And you'll see that in less emotionally mature people. They don't want to, they ain't going first. They ain't going first. It takes that others focus to be happy in marriage. It takes that others focus to build a big business here. It's an others focus that allows us to be, and here's a magic quality. I talked about one, transparency creates intimacy. Here's another quality that creates intimacy, vulnerability. If I'm not vulnerable, we can't have that intimacy. Holly can hurt me so she can love me. Does that make sense? People that can't hurt you can't love you. Andy can hurt me. That's why Andy can love me, because we have vulnerability. That comes from an others focus. Why? Because you can't help people that you're not vulnerable with. It's that others focus that's going to drive that openness, that vulnerability. Now, will that get you hurt? 100%. 100%, but not 100% of the time. And the magic that you have in relationships where you're vulnerable, it's worth every bit of the hurt you take when somebody hurts you. It's worth every bit of it. The intimacy, the bond that Holly and I have, the bond that Andy and I have, the bond I have with people like Paul and Leventoviches and Diane and Andy, the bonds we have, it's worth every bit of it. Every bit of it. When you have an others focus, this transparency does a magic thing for you, which helps you lead people. It allows you to be, here's what it is, an imperfect coping model. When I look at Andy Albright, it cracks me up when people say, well, you know he ain't perfect. I'm like, yeah, did you watch the TWC? He said it. He says it all the time. That's one of the reasons we can relate to Andy, because he's clear that he is an imperfect coping model. If we all thought Andy was perfect, we would never have that closeness. Does that make sense? And that's why the people in your life that constantly try and make sure everybody understands they're perfect, that's why they don't have any close friends. That's why their marriage is dysfunctional. Because they're perfect. They don't have any problems. We don't need help in our marriage. Our marriage is fantastic. We're so happy. So if you want to lead people, man, it's spring in the mountains. My nose is itching this whole time. I'm trying not to. I know public speaking wise that you're not supposed to touch your face. And every time I do it, I see it in the monitor, I'm like, God. But here's what I'm really doing for you. I'm showing you what an imperfect coping model really is.
Thank you. Thank you. Good answer.
You're welcome. Here's what else that others focus will give you. It'll give you the energy to serve and to love long after the selfish people have gotten tired and bored. If you ever wondered why do the leaders, how do they have that go? It's because of the others focus. If they were self-focused, they wouldn't have that same energy and fire that it takes to serve and love. So, how does this help us? If you're brand new, it will help you build a network fast. Why? People are dying for imperfect coping models to follow. Why? Because you feel safe. You won't feel constantly judged. So you'll build a network fast by being this. If you're already winning, this will push you closer to your potential, because the drive to help others will help you find that extra so you don't leave it on the field. So we don't leave it on the field. Now, what if you've just gone through a tough loss? Here's the cool thing. Everybody's going to cheer you on and help you. Why? Because you got real bonds. Paul, I love you, man. When I went through that challenge I talked about, I can't tell you how many times your texts were right on time. You won't have that come through when you need it if you don't have an others focus. Does that make sense? Thinking about the things that the late night calls with Andy during that time. You see what I'm saying? If you have that other focus, you have a team of people going, let's go, I'll help you. Tell you, can I call one of your people? Send them to my hospital, I'll help you. You'll have that whole support network in place. All right, number 5. They are challenge hungry. And this is important not just in the business, but in life. Here's how it works. And I showed this at NatCon, but I want to show it again because you and I both need to think about it. The key in life is as you grow your skills to grow the challenges you take on. Why? When they don't have the skills for the challenge, here's what happens. Anxiety. That's why learning. But we got to increase the challenge too. Because if we don't, here's what lives down here. Boredom. What does boredom lead to? It leads to bad habits and distractions. And this is not just this business, this is life. If you don't constantly challenge yourself to meet your spouse's needs on a higher level, you're going to get bored. And you're sure enough going to meet a distraction and end up in some bad habits. Right? So what you don't want is your arrow going like this. So if you look at the top leaders, the reason they have that staying power is because they seek to continue to challenge themselves. If they didn't, if their arrow went down, they wouldn't have that staying power. Why? Because they'd be distracted. Why? Because they'd be picking up extra bad habits. I don't know about you, but I'm trying to shed as many as possible. Challenge. Grow the challenge. And that's what you see in the top leaders. They're challenge seekers. They're challenge hungry. They're not hiding from growth. They want it. You should see the text back and forth with the leaders. Like, how do we get hot spots better? How do we do this? How do we do? Constantly seeking challenge. Seeking that next challenge. We can't be satisfied being really good at something, or we won't have that staying power. If we're satisfied being really good at something, or even just good at something, we won't have that same staying power. Does that make sense? Same thing applies with fitness. What if you saw me in the gym with 2 10-pound weights in my hand going, oh yeah! Oh God! Yes! Oh, it's a good deep burn! Oh yeah! You would think I lost my mind. Yeah, like, what is wrong with that person? If we don't constantly seek bigger challenges, that's exactly how we look. Does that make sense? Yeah. Are you going to get any fitter from sticking with the 10s? Right? You're not going to get any better sticking with the same old challenges. So that's why it's not okay to not sell annuities. It's not okay to not sell annuities. Why? You're about to bend your arrow. That's why it's not okay to not sell IULs. That's not okay. Why? Because you're about to bend your arrow. That's why it's not okay to not move up the levels. Why? Because you're about to bend your arrow. And we've all seen it. The guy that's coming on for us has sold insurance 8 different places, and we're about to be number 9, but we're just a placeholder for number 10. That's why. He ain't trying to grow, so he gets bored. And then he gets the distractions and bad habits, and guess what? Oh, the alliance just don't work for me no more. Right. It used to work when I first came in. And then they blame it. They'll find something to blame it on. They'll be like, oh, yeah, because they changed that thing. This is the Joker. He's still trying to figure out how to create. We need to create more direct mail mortgage leads and that alone. Okay, go talk to your neighbors. Ask them to mail in what we're sending them. I don't want to tell you. That's not Andy Albright. Andy Albright, I can't even tell you some of the lead formats he's working on. Well, some of you know because you're in a beta test group. And we got bigger plans. Does that make sense? So when you see the leaders and their staying power, it's because they seek bigger challenges. They're not trying to whip the same old task again. Guess who whips the same old task again? Those people we talked about previously that we may have shared some similarities with, but we don't know more. Praise seekers. That's who wants to do the same thing over and over and get praise for it. A real leader's not worried about that because they're busy looking for another challenge to take on. Here's what it'll make you. It'll make you a great finisher. When you seek challenges, it'll make you a great finisher. You won't have a bunch of undones in your life. If you ever wonder why some people can't move as fast, or why they can't move with as much decisiveness, it's because they're burdened with the guilt from all the undones in their life. All the undones. And you know this, me and you both know this. Why? Remember how it feels when your car is 100% clean? So fresh and so clean. I love it. It's not a true TWC until Andre 3000 gets props. I have long told Andy that should be on the playbook. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. But I don't know. It's not on the playbook. Here's what it is. People that live here, they've made peace with the fact that winning in life is largely about solving problems. They've made peace with the fact. Most people's biggest problem is that they don't think they should have any problems. They think they're special. They shouldn't have any problems. Why me? Why me? Why me? Because you're just one of us. Because you ain't special. You got to solve problems to move up. You got to solve problems to be happy. You got to solve problems to help others. Why? Because just like you got problems, they got problems. We all got problems. Problem here, problem there, problem everywhere. Yeah. The top leaders, people like Andy, they've made peace with the fact that winning in life is going to largely be about solving problems. And I would say that he is with you in that he wishes it wasn't. That winning was about just laying around the pool all day. Right? I'm the same way. We got those same pulls. But so that's why you got to make peace with the fact that winning is going to largely be about solving problems. That's all that it is. And here's the cool thing about this right here. So what happens if my arrow's here and I've gotten bored? I've got a truth that will help you. Here's the truth. Today, right now, you can literally write a new past. Just one decision. Just one click. One decision to challenge yourself. One decision to finally write an annuity. One decision to finally write an IUL. One decision to go, you know what? Key leaders played out. It's time. Right? One decision. That's all it takes. One decision, you can rewrite a new past. One of the things I talked about at the Alliance Leadership Academy, or the academy formerly known as the Alliance Leadership Academy, the inaugural. Well, Terry and I taught at the inaugural. That's cute, Owens. We taught at the inaugural. The inaugural. We have secret jackets, and you don't get one. We got a secret handshake that's so secret, we don't even do it in public. I said this at the Alliance Leadership Academy. You're in charge of your story, right? And I read this quote, and it's so true, that you die twice. You die once when you die, and then you die again the last time somebody says your name. People say the names of the stories. The stories that are amazing. So you literally today, if your arrow's been sloping, one decision, back in the game. Back in the game. All right. How does that help us if you're new? You're going to get started faster by leaning into it. You're going to make your first dial right now. I'm not going to need to go to 8 different dials, jam sessions, and ride-alongs for 12 different people to make a first dial. Lean to it right now. If you're already winning, you won't get bored. You won't get bored and destructive. And after a tough loss, you're going to be a quick rebound. And you're going to move into the challenge with momentum. That's a magic secret on how people like Diane Lampy and Andy Riddle can move through a challenge and not have major setbacks, because they went into the challenge with momentum so they could weather the storm. Make sense? All right, last one for today. People with staying power travel light emotionally. They travel light emotionally. You can't bring health into new relationships keeping track of old scores. People that have staying power travel light emotionally. If you don't travel, if you and I don't travel light emotionally, in other words, if we got a whole list of scores to settle, we're in danger of something very dangerous called transference. That's what a psychologist would tell you. It's transference. That's where I see an inaccurate picture of you based on your similarities to one of my old scores. I'll give you a perfect example of this. Chandler, my son, his name could have been Nathan had I been a more emotionally mature 23-year-old. Why? Because Holly liked that name. But instantly, I remembered Nathan. Oh, no, that child's name will not be Nathan. That's just bad. It's bad seed. He's going to end up a villain if you name him, right? Why? Because I was emotionally immature. And I was doing transference. Just the similarity of the name made me think of the villain. And he's probably somewhere in his villain tower. You know, all villains have towers. And I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. Yeah, I was emotionally immature. So that's why. So that's why if we carry old baggage with us all the time, we're going to miss out on what could be fantastic relationships, because we're going to transfer those old hurts onto new people based solely on similarities. Based solely on similarities. When we face our demons and let go of them, I read this in a book recently. I love this quote. We reclaim land in our heart. Isn't that great? We reclaim land in our heart. We let the old stuff go. Here's the other thing we do. We don't waste time on judgment when we travel light. We don't waste time on that. When we look at people and we carry those old scores, there were things that drove those behaviors. Hurtful though they may be. There were things that drove those behaviors that were based in their imperfections. So I don't know about you, but I've decided to stop judging people for that. Why? Because who am I? Who am I? If I abandon my principles, I'm capable of the same behavior. Does that make sense? So traveling emotionally light, that will help. You can bring health to new relationships. And guess what? You're going to be happier. You're going to be happier. How many people go through multiple marriages because they keep carrying the baggage of the previous spouse to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next? Yeah. It's called transference. We can't do that. So how's that going to help us if we're new? That's going to help us keep our past in the past. That's going to keep us from sabotaging a future here with us. And that's if you've made grave mistakes in the past. And they're yours. You got to let that baggage go. Learn the lesson, let go of the lament. Key principle. Learn that lesson, let go of the lament. Move forward. But you're going to be able to build a future here that doesn't look anything like your past if you travel emotionally light. How does that help you if you're already winning? It's going to allow us to impact lives at a faster pace. Why? Because you'll be able to see the person as a whole without any transference infecting your view of that person. You'll see the good instead of the bad. And if you think about these people that don't travel emotionally light, are they happy? They're not happy. So we'll be happy. What if you're going through a tough loss? Here's the cool thing. You'll be emotionally mature enough to handle it. It won't be easy, but you'll be emotionally mature enough to handle it. Why? Because you will have energy and emotional resources to deal with it. Because you won't be tied up with all your energy and resources, all your emotional energy and emotional resources tied up in old hurts, old scores. They'll be available to you. They'll be available to you to help you move through it. And by the way, if you're not carrying around a bunch of baggage and not super judgy, we're all going to love you more too. So we'll be pulling for you. Does that make sense? We won't be fighting that part of us that says they finally got theirs. No. Hey, here's the last thing I'll tell you. When I look at these leaders, when I look at the way they live their lives, if I had to give you one last thing I see in them, it would be focus. The focus of an Andy Albright. The focus of the top leaders. The focus. That gives you staying power. Why? Because you're not trying to drag 1,000 things with you. And what is focus? Focus is simply the art of saying no. That's all it is. You and I, all of us, and all of you out there in imagination land on the internet, we all got things we need to say no to. We all got things we need to say no to amp up our focus here. So maybe as homework, we could all work on that together. We all work on, what am I going to say no to? And we can make a list and we can pull the trigger and we can start saying no to the stuff that's holding us back. Because you know what? I think if we do that, I think we got enough time before family reunion. I think we got enough time before family reunion to do something that's never been done in the history of the Alliance. I think we got enough time that we're going to scare the pants off of the fall because it won't want us to get a hold of it and do to it what we get to the spring. Love y'all. Let's go.